Well, welcome back, everybody. My guest today is Kimberly-Clark, Chief Digital and Technology Officer, Zack Hicks, someone everyone knows and has great respect for. Zack is a proven global digital and transformational leader who is hyper-focused on driving new business outcomes. Today, I'm going to focus on many of those answer the call moments that have defined Zack's career and really sets him apart in many ways. Kimberly-Clark, as you know, behemoth, $20 billion, Fortune 200 innovator. They're usually number one, number two in most of the markets, most of the categories that they work in. And we'll dive into their exciting new operating model and their digital-first brand paradigm with Zack here shortly. As many of us remember, Zack made big news when he previously became the Chief Executive Officer of Toyota Connected. And we'll unpack that story. And that was all while he was the Chief Digital Officer of Toyota North America as well. In 2019, Zack was inducted into the prestigious CIO Hall of Fame, an honor bestowed on only 202 IT executives who have had a significant impact on our profession. Additionally, Zack was named one of the Dallas Business Journal's most admired CEOs of 2018. So that's pretty cool recognition as well. Also in 2018, in October, Zack was appointed to the board of directors of Signet Jewelers, the world's largest retailer of diamond jewelry. So he's also an active member of the CIO Strategy Exchange, also known as CIOs. If you've been in this business a while, which is led today by the legendary Monty Ford. So a big shout out to him and the great work they do at CIOs. Like all great leaders, Zack's career has been defined by a number of those big answer the call moments where he delivered and he delivered big. And that's where I want to start. So Zack, welcome to the podcast. The first answer the call moment I want to unpack was your decision in July 2022 to leave Toyota, where you'd been for over a quarter century, to come to Kimberly-Clark. So what was it about this company and this role and at that time that got you excited to answer the call?
Well, when I had a chance to meet with our CEO, Mike Hsu, he explained to me that the CPG industry had really not been disrupted by technology, and that he was really interested in not just transforming Kimberly-Clark, but transforming the whole CPG industry. And he really felt like it was a green field for us to do something new. So that was a big remit, and it was a tremendous opportunity to take on a new challenge. And so I accepted.
Well, Mike Hsu, very impressive. We're going to talk about him here in a few more minutes. But before we go there, you mentioned the remit. So can you talk about the different hats that you're wearing now at Kimberly-Clark?
Sure. I think that, like most CIOs, first and foremost is generally the technology strategy and the overall vision. And every company today is on a digital transformation roadmap, and typically the CIO, CTO are at the center of that. Business alignment is key, and with the business running fast, and I think the pace of change of the business happening faster and faster, that tight coupling between the business and the IT leader is also critical. And then you've got the traditional, the IT and the OT operations responsibility. There's always governance and risk management, cybersecurity. And I think what comes to mind that's probably most important, it's the people. It's the talent and the culture that we lead. You also have the vendor partnerships and things like financial oversight and board and executive alignment. But I think those are the multiple hats that most CIOs, CTOs have to wear.
Well, I know you say most, but that's a big remit, a lot going on with a $20 billion global company, all the countries you're in, the complexity. And speaking of countries, I just want to let our audience know you just got in last night from India. I mean, you look incredible. So, I mean, thank you for doing this. After that, we know those trips are energizing and grinding at the same time.
That's true. Yeah, it was a great trip. I mean, we have such a innovative team, and it was really motivating for me. But yeah, it's a long journey, but always worth it.
Yeah, so good. I want to go to one of your many answer the call moments early in your CIO journey back at Toyota. I think it was weeks in, a crisis, literally a crisis struck. And love to have you share maybe what happened. It's public news, how you and your team answered that call and got things turned around, and also maybe some of the learnings you pulled out of that experience.
Yeah, that was really a transformative period in my career, and really set me on my trajectory that I'm still on today. Um, Toyota was going through a recall crisis, and I was a new CIO. And what had happened was the amount of transactions were larger than we had ever experienced before. So, for example, we went from about 6,000 phone calls a day to 90,000 phone calls a day. So not only were they not getting a busy signal, they were just kind of getting dead air. And we were getting DNS errors on our websites. But then all of our systems came out of started to break down because, like, for instance, the batch jobs on the mainframe was taking 30 hours, which is more than 24 hours. So then all of the onlines in the morning were coming up, and then the disconnect between the data from the mainframe into the other connected systems. And there was a person in our mainframe department that, this was pre-agile. And so during that time, as a new CIO, we were doing early morning stand-ups and meeting throughout the day and late at night. And what we were trying to do is just, hey, let's give our team members whatever they need to take care of our customers. And somebody did something pretty amazing. It was somebody in our mainframe department took that batch job down from, I think it was 33 hours down to 3.5 hours. And it wasn't even 3.5 hours, even in good times. And I really had the clarity, even in the craziness of the time, to think that, people have answers, but they're waiting for somebody to tap them on the shoulder. And that if I still had a job on the other side of that difficult period, that I would make it my life's work to unleash the latent innovation that exists within all of the team members. And I really did. And so from that point on, I got interested in doing hackathons and finding other ways to give people creative outlets to share their capabilities.
So incredible. There's, great leaders like you always talk about the learnings come from those hard times, right? It's not fun when you're going through them, but it's when you really build those muscles. And there was one, I'm going to call it an event. Probably, I'm not even sure if you are aware of just how big an answer the call moment this was from a people impact perspective and how you handle it. I'm going to take you back, April 2nd, 2014. Here in Southern California, Toyota made some big news, kind of caught people off guard. Basically, they were moving out of Southern California to Plano, Texas. Big impact, right? And you jumped in, you pulled people together, you walked the campus, you were just very present, and I don't know, you had to be going through your own personal struggles during this time. But do you remember that? Do you remember that day and how you navigated it?
I do. I remember having a conversation with our North American CEO at the time, Jim Lentz, and he shared his vision for wanting to create a new culture as we were merging our manufacturing and our sales operations teams together. And he thought, this is a great time for us to drive towards even a better culture. While Toyota has an amazing culture, they wanted to continue to improve it. And he thought that was a great opportunity for me to get there and be one of the first movers to Dallas and help lay the foundation for the technology that would be to begin creating the types of experiences that we wanted to create for our employees, and lay the foundation that was needed for the future of the company.
Incredible. Well, we like to do surprises here, and I've got a surprise for you. I've got somebody that was there at that time, who shared a story. It was kind of a personal story of how much of a struggle this was for people, and how you showed up, and how it inspired him to be a better leader. And so this is not a mystery question. This is a mystery story. And so when we come back, tell us who this is, and you can comment a little further. So check it out.
We were so worried about what was going to happen next. Everyone in the entire organization just stopped working, and anxiety had set in. That day, you came down to every department. You grabbed 8 or 9 of us, you brought us into a room, and you shared your thoughts on the move. You shared your concerns. But what you also did was you shared a message of optimism. you got us to see the positive side of what a move could mean, the opportunities for advancement, for getting larger roles and being able to have a larger impact. And to me, Zach, your superpower has always been empathy, your willingness to bring people together, to understand a situation, to really hear your team members out, and to be so hands on with your team. And that day, I think, was so important to me because it was such an amazing thing to see an executive at such a high level be willing to take several hours to walk the entire campus, to go to every single department, sit people down, spend an hour and a half really hearing their concerns, sharing your own, and then painting that picture of a greater future for us. It wasn't just the things you did in innovation and technology, but is what you did that day that really helped shape who I wanted to be as a leader.
Wow. That's,
Wow.
I wanted to just let that run because that to me was just a special story. Not everyone would have done what you did that day. In fact, a lot of other leaders weren't around and present. And so, first of all, who was that? And second of all, um, let's talk about that superpower of yours.
Yeah, that's Brian Cursar, and who is a fantastic technologist, a fantastic person, and a leader that I respect a lot. And really generous comments there. I remember that day, but I don't remember to that level of detail. But it kind of brought me back. But it was very kind of him to say those nice words.
Yeah, good stuff. So, you had to go through decision point too, right? You had to decide to uproot your family, move half country away. Plano is very different from Southern California. I've been to both campuses. So, how did you answer that call, and how did that turn out for you?
Yeah, I had that same conversation. Like I think every family had to at that time to say, is this going to be right for us? But Toyota has always been an amazing company to me, and it always treated me with respect and care. And I really believe in the company, and so I didn't feel like I was risking a lot because I knew that I had the might and care of Toyota behind me. So, and it turned out to be a fantastic move, and I think as it did for almost all the people that moved there because it offered new growth, new types of lifestyle, and particularly for people coming from Southern California, large houses and other lifestyle improvements. So it was a great move.
Yeah, it just what you all did there was just incredible. That journey. We'll talk more about that here in a few minutes, but I want to stay kind of on the personal side and add some additional color around all this through the lens of a very, very, very special person to you and to me. And I think someone who's a big part of your story. So listen in. I think you're going to hear this. You're going to know this voice right away. So check this one out.
Since you didn't come from the traditional engineering background that was historically a requirement by the Japanese at Toyota for leading a technology function, what do you think set you apart in a way that made them confident you were the right person to lead Toyota technology?
Well, that's the amazing Barbara Cooper. That
Indeed.
is an unmistakable voice and such a huge influence on my life.
Special person, right? And I know you and Barbara worked together, been a big part of your mentoring story. How she made you a better leader, made you a better mentor.
I would say I wouldn't be a CIO today if it wasn't for Barbara Cooper. She mentored me early in my career and throughout my career. Saw something inside of me, taught me how to be an executive, taught me how to keep my skills sharp by focusing on doing as much to learn on the outside as I was doing on the inside. So just a fantastic leader who made everyone around her better. But just probably the best example of an amazing professional that I could name.
I remember you'll appreciate this story. She hates it when I tell this story, but when I went to meet Barbara the first time, it was Torrance, right, where
Yeah,
you
that's right.
guys were based. And I check in and I said, "Hey, I'm here to visit with Barbara Cooper." And the guard or reception said, "Oh yeah, Barbara runs this place." And you can tell why, she knows why she wouldn't like that, but it was true. It was true. And she is, gosh, someone who just continues to give back and do amazing
Yeah.
work
I mean, not
today.
only a great professional, but just an amazing human being.
Yeah,
Just so kind and compassionate, and such great vision.
incredible. Well, Zach, you made big news when you became this. You were the chief digital officer of Toyota. Then you took on the additional responsibilities of the CEO of Toyota Connected, and you built this thing from scratch. I mean, you like logo and the company and the space, and I may have the numbers wrong, but you had a competitor starting up something like this. They got like $1 billion, and you got like 5 million, right?
That's
So
right. Yeah.
that's a big moment of truth for a new CIO. So take us back then. This is your baby. How did you handle that call
Yeah.
and that whole journey?
Yeah, I had an amazing executive in Japan, Mr. Tomoyama, and he had asked me originally to consider helping the company launch a separate company to ingest all the data coming out of the vehicles. But as we spent time talking about the power of data and what we could do with it to transform the experience in the vehicle and out of the vehicle, um, I was given the opportunity to create this company to build products and services on top of the data that we were ingesting from the vehicle. And and while we were launching an autonomous driving company called TRI, they invested about $1 billion at the time, and they gave me about 5.2 million. I would say initially I was probably a little bit jealous, but I would say over time that was probably one of the keys to our success because we had to be self-sustaining. In a sea of great ideas, we could only work on those ideas where somebody's going to actually pay for it. And so it really created us or put us on the path towards success. And was a great opportunity. We took that company, and within 5 years, I think it was valued close to $1 billion. And so it was a tremendous opportunity, great team, and great opportunity that Toyota had afforded me.
That's an ROI I'll take all day long. Uh, but yeah, but you make a good point, right? I mean, sometimes I think you call it the scarcity of resources, right? Sometimes that actually makes us better. And you did something that was interesting too, is you were very intentional about where you physically had that company. Can you talk about that?
Sure. And because this was a company that was reporting into Japan, it was a North American company as the North American company for Toyota that I had worked for. It was purposeful to put it off campus. And while we wanted that connectivity and alignment, we wanted to remind the employees that we were a separate company with a separate mission. And a lot of that was around being agile and not seeing if we could break through, still being part of a big company, but operating as if we were a startup. And that was really the goal. And I think we accomplished it.
Yeah, incredible. Well, like I say, made big industry news. It was really exciting. Everyone was cheering for you. It's like the CIO to CEO thing was happening. It was just so amazing. And so I thank you. Appreciate you sharing that. I want to bring us to present time. And you mentioned Mike Shue earlier. You mentioned why you're here today. And I listened to your recent investor day, and I got it. I really got it, Zach. And so, I want to have you kind of talk about what really resonated with me. Mike talked about the new operating model, kind of wiring the company for growth. He talked about a digital first brand. I think it was Paradigm, just perked my ears. And so I'm like, well, this has got Zach's team written all over it. So what does this mean for you and your DTS organization?
Sure. So there's three key areas that Mike talked about. The first one is that pioneering innovation. And that's really focusing on the powerhouse brands that Kimberly-Clark has. We're in about 170 markets. And then the second area is optimizing our margin structure. And that allows us to bring the right products at every price point throughout the value ladder. And then the third area is rewiring the company for growth. And that's really to drive agility and speed to market. And the exciting thing for me is that technology and digital transformations right at the heart of those three focus areas.
Yeah, so exciting. And I should have said DTS, Digital Technology Solutions, right? That's the
That's
name
right.
of your
That's right.
your organization, right? So, as someone with a reputation as a transformer, as an innovator, maybe talk about the journey that you're leading. You're leading a big pivot, a new DTS strategy, you know, putting a foundation in place for the transformation. Can you talk about those things as much as you can, and you know how you're pivoting the company, helping the company pivot as well?
So just to give some context on the size of the company and the context of the digital transformation that we're on, to give some scale, about 1 in 4 people on the planet use our products every day, and we sell our brands in 175 countries. We grew Kimberly-Clark by being hyper local, but that also left us in a place where we had a lot of localized systems, and we weren't able to leverage our scale. So when I joined Kimberly-Clark, one of the key focus areas was building more platforms and products that were more reusable and extensible. Another key area was that we had to spend time on was centralizing the data, because data is at the heart of everything we do. But when I first got to Kimberly-Clark, it was tough to get access to all of the data because it was so localized. So now that we've centralized it, we've put AI and self-service on top of it. Now we're starting to see the value of that investment and transformation.
Some of those numbers are staggering, Zach. I mean, 1 in 4 people on the planet.
It is. It's very humbling when you think about the size of the company and the opportunity we have to make a difference in this world, to use less resources, but to provide care for people around the world. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to join the company, was that genuine concern for being a good citizen and helping people in the world.
You know, one of your one of your gifts, one of your superpowers is your ability to communicate. Your ability to communicate a vision. You tell stories that are really compelling, and anybody who knows you knows this about you. And your team now, they've actually turned your name into a verb. And I'm not sure if you know this, but you set such a high bar that the question to each other is, have we Zackified this presentation? So what does that mean? And what is a Zackified, Zach-like presentation look like? What are some of those pillars? I thought that was hilarious, by the way.
Well, when I first joined Kimberly-Clark, in my own team, we would have meetings and they would want to send me a 50-page deck or a 60-page deck. And I would have to explain to them that, hey, that just means that we don't really know what we're saying if it takes us that long to say it. And really wanted to be able to find a way to elevate our ability to communicate, particularly for the business. And I think everyone's got really shorter attention span. So I think it's hyper important to be able to tell a story quickly and understand what's the problem we're trying to solve, what are the recommendations, and what are the potential outcomes. But really trying to drive that clarity of a message. I think when you're in a meeting, people have either they can choose to listen to you or they can read what's on the screen, but they can't do both. And I always talk to my team about, if you don't have the slides do the work for you, have it augment the conversation, but also make it interesting. We're competing with somebody that can look at their phone and get something more interesting in their hands. So it's got to be compelling. So I think that's the opportunity for all of us, is to continue to find a way to have impactful conversations.
And this is a muscle that holds a lot of people back in our industry from really getting to another level of greatness, right? And so, is this something that can be learned? Can you look back? Was there a mentor, a moment, a program you went to? Was there what happened? How did you get to be so good at this?
That's a really good question, Dan. I think I learned it really from the Japanese. When I was working for Barbara Cooper in office of the CIO, I felt like that there was a gap between what our parent company wanted and what we were doing, and I wasn't quite sure I understood. And the Japanese leadership spent a lot of time with me explaining, hey, let's just be very clear about what's the root cause, kind of the Toyota way. What's the root cause? Be clear about the problem you're trying to solve. What are the actions you're going to take, and what are the expected outcomes? And while it sounds very simple, it's hard work to be able to be that clear. But that muscle that was built up over time really helped me be able to quickly have an elevator conversation or pivot in those opportunities with the business to understand what the challenges that they're trying to solve, and be able to propose some potential solutions in a way that they could consume that information and create an opportunity for that dialogue.
So rich. Well, we know about your storytelling superpower. We know about your empathy and focus on people. I've got 3 back-to-back mystery questions from some really cool people. So I want to dig in on these, and we're going to learn a lot about you, and we're going to learn a lot as well as we go through this. So let's listen to this first one.
Hey, Zack, you often talk about unlocking the power of people. In today's world, where generative AI is quickly becoming a part of everyday life, what do you think the key is to getting the people plus technology equation right as part of the workforce of the future?
Well, that is Greg Beckwith, who is my chief of staff and also head of strategy, and a really fantastic person as well. To answer that question, my belief is that AI is a great equalizer. You don't need a lot of technology skills to be able to try or to deliver some prototypes or bring your ideas to life. And I think we have to create more opportunities for people to experiment, but then also create the guardrail so that way the innovative or the real ones that have potential are emerging, but we don't waste our time on being an inch deep and a mile wide on too many activities. But that's worked well for me, and we're seeing it at KC where we've got 80 AI innovations that are already delivering value. And I'm really excited about where we're heading as a company with these technologies.
Did you say 80, 80?
Yes. Yeah.
Holy smokes. Yeah. Well, I'd love to dig on that. I want to, with your CIO.com article, I want to double click on that because that's,
Sure.
People have got 3, 4 going on right now. Pretty happy. So I've got another mystery question here that's going to kind of tease out some of your best practices about how your folks show up, how you're perceived in the company as an organization. So let's listen to this next one. And again, thanks to Greg Beckwith for that last question.
Hello, Zack. I hope you recognize my voice. Since I've known you as a leader, you've always highlighted the IT business partner as a strategic role, someone with the capacity to influence on every level and accelerate growth. So my question is, how have you managed in your experience to ensure your team is seen not just as a service enabler, but as a strategic partners who digitally accelerate and enable business strategies?
Well, that's one of our strongest leaders. That's Teresa Maglarina, and she is a fantastic IT executive who is supporting our largest business unit. And Teresa knows well that business partnerships are everything. When I first joined KC and spent time with our senior executives, it was important for me to understand what were the problems that we could solve for them. Because you can imagine, oftentimes, the business leaders will try to solve some current pain points, but the real opportunities are those undiscovered areas where we can collaborate and innovate and bring solutions that perhaps nobody's even thought of yet. But in order to get to the tip of the spear, you've got to deliver on the foundations, and that's keeping one foot in the current operations, making sure that everything's running smoothly, but a foot in that future, and driving those new capabilities.
You're part of your brand and part of your past, your wiring is you mentioned people earlier, but you're investing in your people. You're helping them stay relevant, helping them to future-proof their careers, not just for now, but just for the long run. So one last mystery questioner. Again, I think you'll know who this is, and I think it's a very rich question.
Hi, Zack. We recently met again in India, and you shared very nice insights on the new skills that are required for a business leaders lead a digital transformation journey. I would like to ask you, what skills do you think every tech and IT professional needs today to collaborate effectively and build trust in the digital transformation journey?
And that's Dina, our site leader at our India Global GDTC, and is a fantastic people leader as well. I think the skills that are needed to be a strong IT leader really is the ability to partner at a deep level and understand as much about the business as we do about technology, because that's where the real unlock happens, and the meaningful conversations can happen. So I always encourage all of our leaders to give themselves that opportunity to be the new person and learn how the business operates and ask what might even seem as silly questions. But that's the strength, because when you bring together the current business conditions, the ability to leverage new technologies, and where the business is going, if you can triangulate those three things, you're going to land ahead of the competition.
Well, thank you, Dina. And it just really makes me realize just how global your team is. Love to have you talk about that and just how good your team is. And I guess the third part I would say is just coming to work with Kimberly-Clark in the digital organization today. You guys are just doing some really interesting work. So maybe just kind of talk about, maybe unpack all that.
Sure, we're doing kind of from the bottom up. I mentioned how we're transforming and centralizing all of the data and making it self-service. We just did a big SAP S4 implementation in North America. I was super proud of the team. Both SAP and our AMS partners said it was one of the best implementations that they had ever experienced, which is rare, right? In those big, complicated implementations. So I'm really proud of the team there. But we're also doing some really interesting things with AI, from being able to ingest our marketing messages and our videos on social media, seeing which ones are getting traction, being able to take that and turn it into more into data elements, like was it the empathy, was it the person smiling, was it the demo, was it the product, was it the music in the background that people are reacting to, and then be able to generate new messages based on that content that would get better scale. We're also using AI in our manufacturing. One great example is on our tissue lines, where we have the machines that were sampling the quality and the amount of chemicals every 30 seconds. And we use AI to predict within those 30 seconds. And we're actually using a lot less direct materials and creating stronger and better products. And so it's kind of a win-win from a environmental, from a quality, and from a price perspective. And so I think that there's just unlimited opportunities in how we could be leveraging AI from our operations, from our customer engagement, and to every aspect of the business.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where all this goes, Zach, just in terms of how you're innovating in those ways. And like you said at the beginning, in the CPG space, these things haven't been done before, right? And so, so exciting. Dina's question about skills and being successful in the future proofing people. I want to insert our Tech for Good question. We do this scholarship, and gosh, to date we've committed over $350,000 in scholarships to STEM nonprofits, Zach. So we're just super proud of that, and the organizations that are beneficiaries is just so fun. And this program is a 9-month IT-specific cohort-based leadership program. And I think you'll appreciate this. It develops leadership and EQ skills. It develops those consultative influence skills, marketing, communicating. So you do so much in the community. You're known for that. But is there a nonprofit that you'd like to gift this seat to?
Well, thank you. And thank you for all the good that you all are doing. That's amazing what you're accomplishing. And thank you for this opportunity. I would love to be able to support the Girls Who Code. They're doing some amazing things, like teaching students how to use AI for climate change, financial literacy, and they're also helping them prepare for the future.
Well, Girls Who Code, I think, has probably been the most recognized Tech for Good recipient on the podcast since we started. So no surprises there. It's just world-class. They're doing work on a national scale, Zach. So, and you've been involved with them for a while, right? As an organization, and you personally.
Yeah, that's right. I've had opportunity to interact with them, even back in the day, as you were mentioning earlier, when we were back in Torrance, California, from the very early stages. It's such an opportunity to get more women involved in technology, and I think they have some great programs.
Incredible. Well, thank you for that, and we'll reach out to them, and they've been very appreciative of those scholarships. So, well, Zach, we've covered a lot of ground. We've had some fantastic mystery questions. I'm appreciative that we're going to spend a little bit more time unpacking your story for CIO.com article that'll come out next week. And so we learned a lot about you today, those answer the call moments. But what really struck me, Zach, and I think people don't reflect enough on this, but it's all the things that you do and have done that have set yourself up to get the call. That to me is the magic. And so thank you for sharing that. I think we got a good understanding, a good appreciation, and gosh, we have to have you back because this story is just getting exciting at Kimberly-Clark.
It is. Well, thanks, Dan. I appreciate your kind words and this opportunity. So thank you very much.
Well, I know you're all as excited as me, inspired by Zack. It's just he is the storyteller of storytellers, and can't wait to see what happens here at Kimberly-Clark. But thanks to Zack, and I'll wish you all well, and we will see you next time.
You've been listening to Tech Whisperers, inside the playbook of the best digital leaders, a Woolette and Associates podcast. Keep connected with us by subscribing to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you like what you've heard, please rate the show, as this helps us connect the world's best digital leaders with those who aspire to learn, grow, and thrive in this amazing profession. Thanks for listening. Until next time.